We need to make it clear that it doesn't always have to be a chore, like I can sound like a downer. I think some people would see the licensed arena as something of a proving ground in some way, because it can be that much more difficult to craft an engaging story. You're given piece A, piece B, piece C, and you have to, those are your elements, and if you can construct something that is still engaging and entertaining within the parameters that you're given, it's almost more of a success in some ways. And so, you know, it's a challenge too, and it's enjoyable. It is what you make of it, like anything else. It's not the worst thing in the world at all.
Tommy, you've worked on projects, like say when you work on something like Star Wars, you're coming in, obviously the license is established and spin there, but you've also worked in the early stages of things like with Reveal and the development of those. Can you explain just how vastly different it is when you come in at the very, very early stages of a new license?
Yeah, that's different, where if I'm working on a film in the early stage, I'm hired to come up with stuff. You know, and to come up with the look of the film, or to come up with the storyboards, or to come up with, you know, costumes and, you know, what the movie's going to look like. The licensing stuff, and then usually you're going to be working from what they can supply you that someone else has already been doing. So, so like a movie like Batman Begins, I said I did a bit of both. And then same with Harry Potter, and it helped them so that since I already sort of knew the license, you know. But then sometimes, sometimes it's really, really fun. Like as Steven was just saying, like it's sort of like an exciting, like I was 4 when Star Wars came out, so that was like my life when I was a kid. And so I wanted to do that, and Indiana Jones were like my favorite things on the planet. And so I want to do Lucasfilm stuff so bad, and I tried, and I showed my stuff to Dark Horse that had the license. I thought, well, that would be a good way to show my work. And Al Williamson helped me meet them. He was like, you should do Star Wars. So I had Al on my side, and I showed my stuff to the editor. And he said, no, they're not going to like your stuff. It's not right at all. So I was kind of devastated, you know. And then, so he didn't even show it to Luke, the license owners, you know. So then I kind of went around them and went right to Lucasfilm through an art director I knew at Random House Books. And they hired me like that day to do like a bunch of books and stuff for them. So sometimes you gotta, you know, if that's what you really want to do, you know, keep at it. And just because, you know, one guy decides, you know, arbitrarily, oh, I know what they're gonna like or not like, you know, but he's in that tough position, you know, like Nate's been in, where you have to try and sort of anticipate, you know, what are they going to be into, what are they not going to be into, and then you have to cast these books and have to hire the right people to do it, and it's, man, I'm so glad, like, that I don't have to sit in these meetings and stuff, you know. But then sometimes it's purely for money. Men in Black 2, they wanted me to do all the licensing art for that movie. And that, again, it's not a comic, but it's like any illustration that is anywhere that's not like a photograph, anything that's a drawing or painting is something that I did. So it could be on a lunchbox or a t-shirt or a tennis shoe or, you know, whatever, toy packaging. And that was, I got to go to the set and play with the guns and all that, and you see this dog getting dressed up in a suit, and it's kind of fun, but then, and the approvals. So Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith all get approval. Tommy Lee Jones says, take the lines out of my face, less gray in my hair. Will Smith says, I want to look older and tougher. So I'd have to revisit it. Then when I lost my mind was the dog's owner would have approval over the dog. Yeah, so I put too much purple in his muzzle. He says, there's no purple in my dog's muzzle. I said, it's a painting, you know, it's such creative license. It's the way the light is hitting the dog. And he said, no, it's brown fur. And he just didn't, you know, so I had to change it. And then, so that's like, so then it's like, just think about, I need a new refrigerator, I need a new part, you know, I mean, that's what those jobs sometimes become. But then sometimes, and also a lot of it, you have different people that work at the companies, you know, like you'll be working, like with Lucasfilm for so long, I never had any changes on stuff, and then a new guy came in who was like, continuity like freak, and he has me changing all this stuff that I never had. I just used to worry about making a good illustration. Now I have to worry about, did that robot have that kind of marking in this kind of movie, and I'm just like, you know. So if you're lucky enough, right now I have enough other stuff to do, so I'm choosing not to take the next Star Wars job, you know, because I love Star Wars, I love certain things, and after a while I start to hate it, you know. So, but there is, you know, it balances out though. There are some really exciting. You know, when I got my first Star Wars job, like you could tell I was so thrilled, you know, and it'll come back to that sometime, I hope, you know.
Yeah, that's the stage I'm at, because he's just starting the Star Wars stuff. I love it, like, but I'm sure it can get very, very, very taxing to do other things. Was it something?
Oh, I was just going to say, like, that going off of that, you know, you say, like, you have enough other stuff so that you don't have to take the Star Wars. You know, if you're a writer or an artist, especially, and you're, you know, you find that you have enough talent to be able to submit and get some licensed work, you can use that as a supplement to being able to do your own creator own. Like Tommy is so frigging talented that he's you know, you've probably seen the variant cover that he's graced with this comic. You know, you're able to learn some craft. You're able to learn how to work with people. You're able to be a professional and understand that licensed work is a profession, and you have to be on time. In many ways, it's harder, I think. It's a lot harder. Yes.
I work with a lot of comic guys that haven't done any licensing stuff. You know, like I'll bring in friends to work on a project, like John Paul Leon. The only non-comic stuff he's done is if like I bring him onto a project with me, like Batman or something, and he has such a hard time with any art direction, any feedback. He cannot deal with it because he's only done comics where, you know, generally, and you know, you hand in the stuff, and you know, it's a very personal sort of relationship you have with the work. But since I've done so many other kinds of things like books or movies and stuff where you feel like, you know, you're gonna get that, you know. But some guys, yeah, it's really hard to take if you only.
Plus, you appreciate the good stuff more. I think.
Yeah, and then so basically comics. So comics is like my true love thing, you know. So if I can afford to, I'm just going to try and do my own comics from now on, and then do the other stuff to more supplement my income, like Nate was saying.
We just got 5 more minutes. Just going to do 2 quick more questions before we finish up. Ben, you're in a situation now where one of your original creations is going to be, you know, is moving forward and possibly going to be into a TV show as well. How would you feel then if you started seeing, you know, other artists doing representations of these characters that you didn't like, or you saw kind of crappy action figures or things like that? How would that affect you personally then?
An interesting question. Yeah, well, one of the books I did for Image Comics, Memoir, was picked up for development as a TV show by Warner Brothers. Not allowed to name the production company, but you know, it's a pretty cool one I very much respect, and one that produced some really top-notch material. What generally tends to happen is when you agree to an option with one of these companies, you pretty much sign all that stuff away. I have an agent that does all of the dealings and, you know, the compromises made into how much say I have, if any, in certain regards. It was a bit of a minefield, to be honest, in that Warner Brothers now own the property for film and television. Me and Nicky Cook, the artist on the book, both still maintain all comic book rights. But at the same time, we had to kind of figure out merchandise. So if a TV show, fingers crossed, actually hits the air, like I think you work out percentages for like everything from merchandise to like how much they charge for TV commercials, and it really is an absolute minefield. To be honest, I love comics. I always saw Memoir as a comic book, and so my vision, everything I wanted to do was put into the comic book, and so I'm pretty easygoing with Warner Brothers or whoever the other production company is doing their kind of thing. I mean, I've got like a consulting producer credit if, again, the show actually comes to fruition, but, you know, I'm more about producing big quality comic book works and then letting these people do their own thing with the TV show. I think Kirkman's much the same when it comes to The Walking Dead. He put together a top-notch comic book, obviously incredibly popular. He's quite fortunate in the sense that the TV show was a really good representation of his original vision. Like, they really, really did an absolutely superb job, incorporated lots of the initial comic story and characters while still kind of doing their own thing. So that's like the best case scenario. Whereas, say for instance, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, one of the coolest things I've ever read, is somehow made into one of the worst films I've ever seen. So it really is, you know, it's, and Alan Moore doesn't really kind of give a crap about any of that, clearly. You know, he's got much the same sort of, I suppose, way of looking at it as I do, but I put whatever I want to do into my books, and it's completely my vision, me and Nikki's vision, in the case of memoir. And then, you know,
yeah, so just one last quick question, so to finish it up, because as like Tommy, you were saying as well earlier, like it's great when you are working on licensed properties that do touch upon that nostalgia of things that you have from your video reader. You're like, is there any licensed properties left out there that you'd like to have a go on?
I will die to have a go on indie, but you know, on Indiana Jones. I talked to Dark Horse about it.
do they still hold the license?
Yeah, because Chris at IDW tried to pitch for a license, but the thing is, I have a huge, you know, there's some big shoes to fill. So you've got the prep, but you don't want to be the guy that brings that down either. But yeah, Indiana Jones for me.
Yeah, to be honest, I'd have to say exactly the same thing. Hey, we should totally do that. The only problem being, I'm such a huge fan of the original source material. I'd be terrified of tarnishing. You know, it's like when I went to see Raiders of the Lost Ark in IMAX a couple of weeks ago. Even though I've seen that film somewhere between 30 and 40 times, I always find something new. So I guess indeed that's my favourite franchise series, but at the same time, I'd be kind of rigging it in case I do a terrible job.
Well, that's
I'd never forgive myself.
Would you be brave enough?
Oh, I'd still do it.
Yeah.
I just hope that it wouldn't suck.
I would probably do Muppets. Yeah, if I got to do some Muppets, anything Henson really. I'm just a total. I'm in the bag for Henson.
Mad Max.
Nice.
So there's a few, you know, sort of those things still. I think we all end up thinking back to what influenced us when we were young. And so IDW has a handful of licenses that I'll just talk to the editor and say, you know, I really got to scratch that itch. Can I do some G.I. Joe covers? Or can I do some Doctor Who covers, you know? And then they start having me change stuff and everything.
There's a lot of licensed stuff that you'd never even think about being interested in, and someone comes to you and says like, oh yeah, like remember this thing? It's like,
yeah,
no,
potential is enormous. I mean, if you could play
Gem.
the property.
I still want to do Gem.
Clearly you love Angry Birds as a kid, so.
yeah, you haven't thought of something since you were a kid, and then someone says Voltron, it's like, 3-year-old Nate, yes, I'll do Voltron. Yes.
Okay, that's it, we gotta wrap it up, Grace. Thank you very much.